What's a piece of advice you've received that initially seemed strange, but turned out to be remarkably insightful? This is not mine, but something I read somewhere. But essentially, a girl was practicing archery and kept messing up, and the instructor told her, "You're failing because you're too focused on the target and not your own actions." She proceeded to say that it was the best life advice she had ever gotten. Some people need to be excluded from social plans, even if it makes you feel like a bad person. For context, a person in our friend group always killed the vibe and had tantrums, and finally my friend gave me this advice. She said I was so lovey and caring and inclusive, but that advice. There comes a time when every group must make an individual sacrifice. Happened to a guy we knew in college, deeply insecure and always trying to find someone to use as a social punching bag to ensure that he wasn't socially at the bottom. Had an all-out tantrum once he figured out why he wasn't being invited anywhere. Man, my wife's group of friends from college went through stages where they'd kick people out of the group due to drama they caused when they hung out. Us boyfriends would meet a new girl in the group one day, we'd all party together, then a month later we'd ask, "Where's so-and-so?" And they'd inform us that the person had been voted out. Lol. Reasons varied from having full-on tantrums in public over small shit. I actually witnessed one of these firsthand. Not pulling their weight in group projects. They were all the same major. Trying to break up one of the couples in the group, etc. Now, almost 10 years later, they have a stable group of 5 girls and 4 out of the 5 original boyfriends. Some now husbands remain. We like the new guy though, he's cool, and the girl in the group he's dating, whose previous boyfriend was a first-class bum that got another girl pregnant, looks genuinely happy around him. One of my best friends is all about inclusivity, which is great a lot of the time but also gets really annoying. He never wants people to feel left out, but it ends up changing the game plan almost every time. Like, we can't have game night with this friend, because it's never just the 4 of us. He always invites another couple or 2, and suddenly my 4-person board games don't work. Or like we were going to have a few friends over for New Year's, and it quickly went from a few people to around 20. It has gotten to the point where if I want to do stuff with just my close friends, I literally don't include this friend, even though I'd like to. Understanding group dynamics is an underappreciated social skill. Everyone is either going through a storm, coming out of the storm, or preparing to enter a storm. That is the cycle of life until you die. 15 years old me. Damn Nana, that is such a negative point of view. 30s me, holy shit, Nana was right. My first boss told me just before firing me, "You know how to work efficiently, but you don't know how to look like you are working efficiently." Later in life hit me. People will look for perceived value even more than the real one you give. So my advice in work environments is, look like you were busy. If a finished thing on date, doesn't matter if I needed 2 days and spent 3 on Reddit, like I am just now, lol, or you spent the entire week peep into it. Look busy. If someone is trying to intimidate you, stare at them confidently and say nothing. They will back off. I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever heard. Ended up trying it on the bully at work, and she freaked out and avoided me for the next few years we worked together. I use it all the time on people now. Embrace your detours, the unlikely wisdom of getting lost. When I asked my grandfather, years ago, for a piece of advice for life, I expected something cliché like work hard and save your money or treat others as you want to be treated. Instead, he looked at me over his glasses, a slight smile playing on his lips, and said, "Learn to embrace getting lost. You'll find parts of yourself you didn't know were missing." At the time, I dismissed it as just another of his eccentricities. I was a planner, a list maker, someone who lived by schedules and itineraries. Getting lost was not on my agenda. It wasn't until years later, when I found myself literally lost in the winding streets of a small village in Italy, that his advice came flooding back to me. My phone had died, I spoke barely a word of Italian, and I had no map. Initially, panic set in, but then I remembered his words and decided to just go with it, to embrace the detour rather than fight it. That afternoon turned out to be one of the most memorable of my life. I stumbled upon a tiny cafe where an elderly woman served me the best espresso I've ever had. I met a local artist who showed me his studio and talked passionately about his craft. I watched children play soccer in a cobblestone alley, their laughter echoing off the ancient buildings. By the time I found my way back to my hotel, I had a new appreciation for the unexpected. I had allowed myself to experience the moment fully, without plans or constraints, and it was liberating. My grandfather's advice wasn't about just accepting when you make a wrong turn on the road. It was a metaphor for life. It was about being open to the unexpected, about finding joy and lessons in the detours life throws at us. Whether it's a job loss, a broken heart, or a failed plan, there's always something to be gained from the experience if we're willing to embrace it rather than resist it. Since then, I've lived my life differently. I still make plans, but I'm not a slave to them. I allow myself the freedom to explore, to say yes to opportunities I might have previously passed up because they didn't fit into my schedule. And in doing so, I've found opportunities and friendships I never would have experienced otherwise. Looking back, I realize how remarkably insightful my grandfather's advice was. It seemed strange at the time, but it has profoundly shaped how I view the world and my place in it. Embracing the detours has made all the difference. Always carry a notebook. My mentor told me on my first day of work, handing me a small leather-bound book. At first, I thought it was an odd piece of advice for a tech job where everything was digital. Yet I soon found the profound value in it. The act of writing by hand forced me to slow down, process my thoughts more deeply, and capture nuances I missed when typing. This notebook became a treasure trove of ideas, observations, and lessons learned. It's not just about remembering tasks, it's about connecting with your thoughts on a different level. This seemingly outdated advice has been my secret weapon in a fast-paced digital world. Underscore 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 underscore. Plant a tree, even if you know you'll move away. My grandmother advised when I complained about not having a permanent home due to frequent relocations. It seemed like a pointless endeavor at first. Why invest in land I'd soon leave behind? Over time, I understood the deeper meaning. It's about leaving something positive in your wake, contributing to the world beyond your immediate needs. This lesson transcended gardening. It taught me to make meaningful contributions wherever I go, regardless of how temporary my stay might be. It's a philosophy I've applied to community work, relationships, and personal growth, making each place better for my having been there. Underscore 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 underscore. Disconnect to reconnect. My friend once told me as I vented about feeling overwhelmed by work and social media. The advice seemed counterintuitive in our always online culture. Reluctantly, I took a weekend off. No phone, no computer, no screens. It was transformative. I engaged with the world directly, enjoyed uninterrupted thoughts, and returned to my digital life with a refreshed perspective and clearer boundaries. This practice of regular disconnection has improved my mental health, creativity, and relationships. What seemed like a retreat from the world turned out to be a deeper engagement with it. Buy the ticket, take the ride, was the advice scrawled on a postcard from an old friend, a nod to Hunter S. Thompson that I found puzzling amidst my structured, risk-averse life. I was at a crossroads, tethered by a comfortable job, yet yearning for something indefinably more. This cryptic counsel lingered in my thoughts, an itch I couldn't scratch away. It wasn't about impulsivity, but about embracing the uncertainty that comes with significant changes. 6 months later, with that postcard pinned above my desk, I did something entirely out of character. I booked a one-way ticket to New Zealand with no plan, but to explore and be open to whatever came my way. The journey that unfolded was nothing short of transformative. I volunteered on organic farms, lived in hostels, and met a kaleidoscope of individuals, each with stories that broadened my understanding of the world and myself. There were challenging moments, of course, missed buses, language barriers, the occasional loneliness, but these were far outweighed by the exhilaration of discovery, of connecting deeply with strangers, and of learning to trust my instincts and embrace flexibility. Returning home, I was not the same person who had left. The advice to buy the ticket, take the ride, had propelled me into experiences that taught me more about resilience, adaptability, and the joy of the unknown than any secure job ever could. It was a lesson in living fully, in not letting fear of the uncertain prevent you from moving forward. This journey led me to a career pivot into sustainable tourism, merging my newfound passions with my professional skills.